Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the First Bank Center in Broomfield, Colorado, and the show just ended. And Dynamite tonight, I thought it was a good show, in my opinion. It wasn't as good as Grand Slam last week, but still, good show it was tonight. Of course, this was their go-home show for Wrestle Dream, which is this Sunday, to which Wrestle Dream I'm looking forward to. I mean, it has a good card, but I feel like there's no hype to Wrestle Dream. But here's the card for Wrestle Dream for Sunday. We have Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. That should be a good match there. We have Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland, which that was confirmed tonight because the main event segment of Dynamite was the contract signing between Hangman and Swerve Strickland. We have the World Tag Team Championship on the line. FTR versus Aussie Open. We have MJF versus The Righteous. This is Vincent and Dutch. This is a handicap match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. We have a six-man tag. Jericho and the Golden Elite. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi versus the Don Callis family. Of course, Takeshita, Guevara, and Will Ospreay. Christian Cage versus Darby Allin. 2 out of 3 falls match for the TNT Championship. Should be a good match between Christian and Darby Allin. Since Christian, won the TNT Championship on Collision on Saturday night. And then we have Eddie Kingston versus Katsuyori Shibata for the Ring of Honor World Championship and the Strong Openweight Championship. We have Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. The Young Bucks versus the Guns, Austin and Colton Gunn, versus the Lucha Brothers versus Orange Cassidy and Hook. A four-way for the four-way tag team match for the World Tag Team Championship. And of course, Ricky Starks versus Wheeler Yuta. So that's your card for Wrestle Dream on Sunday. Should be a good show. Looking forward to it. But tonight on Dynamite, we had the International Championship on the line. This was announced as a open challenge. And what is with these open challenges? Tony Khan loves doing these open challenges. So Rey Fenix defended the title against Jeff Jarrett. And I was like, are you kidding me? We had a three-way match. Nick Jackson versus Brian Cage versus Claudio Castagnoli. The winner will get to face Rey Fenix for the International Championship. We had a four-way match. Orange Cassidy versus Matt Jackson versus Austin Gunn versus Penta El Zero Miedo. And we had Julia Hart versus Will Nightingale. And of course, your main event segment was the contract signing between Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland for their match at Wrestle Dream. But overall, Dynamite tonight was a good show. And sorry if I sound like this. I sound, nasally. Sound a little cold. So, or, could be my allergies. So, but bear with me for this review. But let's jump right into the review. Dynamite opened up tonight with the International Championship on the line. This was, of course, announced as an open challenge. So Rey Fenix defended the title against JEFFJARRET, Jeff Jarrett. Now, I want you all to ask me this, and I want an honest answer from you guys. What did Jeff Jarrett do to earn an opportunity for the International Championship? What did he do? It's just Tony Khan. He's just throwing darts at the wall. He has a bunch of names lined up on a dartboard, and whenever he throws a dart and it lands on the guy, that's who he's going to book for the match. All right. Well, I got another open challenge for Rey Fenix. I can book this for Dynamite tonight. All right. Let me take my dart. Let me throw it at the dartboard and see what it lands on. Oh, Jeff Jarrett. Good. I'll book the match tonight for Dynamite. Yeah, that's what Tony Khan is probably doing. So we had Rey Fenix versus Jeff Jarrett International Championship on the line. This was a decent match. Of course, you had Jeff Jarrett being accompanied by his posse. You know, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh, and his wife, Karen Jarrett. Of course, he had Alex Abrahantes accompanying Rey Fenix. So he had Fenix end up delivering a crossbody off the top, and he ended up taking out Jarrett and Jay Lethal, and the match didn't even get underway here. So Fenix ended up managing to send Jay Lethal into Satnam Singh. We had Karen Jarrett get involved where she ended up clawing Fenix's back. Fenix then turned around, and it looked like he was going to do something to Karen, and then Sanjay Dutt ended up getting there. Fenix ended up laying out Sanjay Dutt with a super kick, and then the match officially began. Fenix ended up hitting a moonsault inside the ring to Jeff Jarrett, and then Jarrett ended up turning things around by focusing on Rey Fenix's back, to which Fenix's back was all bloodied because of Karen Jarrett clawing Fenix's back. So you then had Jarrett end up mocking Penta with the Cero Miedo. And then Jeff Jarrett ended up getting taken down by Fenix. Of course, Jeff Jarrett ended up doing his strut. So then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Fenix started to fight back at Jarrett, and he was hobbling, and Jarrett ended up sending Fenix out of the ring, and Karen Jarrett and Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh ended up going after Fenix. So Aubrey Edwards ended up, spotting all this happening. So Fenix was able to get back on the apron, and he ended up hitting the springboard on Jeff Jarrett, and then he delivered a stomp. So Fenix ended up going for the cover. Jarrett ended up kicking out. Fenix then ended up hitting a thrust kick to Jarrett, and then Fenix ended up climbing up to the top, and Jay Lethal ended up getting on the apron, and Fenix ended up delivering a kick to Jay Lethal. Sanjay Dutt ended up getting a distraction, which allowed Jeff Jarrett to low blow Fenix. So Jarrett ended up going for the cover, and Fenix ended up kicking out. So both Jarrett and Fenix ended up going at it, and Jarrett ended up hitting the stroke on Fenix, and he ended up going for the cover, and Fenix ended up getting his foot under the bottom rope to stop the pin. So Satnam Singh got on the apron. He was then intercepted by Fenix, and he ended up taking Satnam Singh off of the apron. So we had Fenix countering a figure four leg lock into a cradle, and there you go. Rey Fenix ended up winning the match, retaining the International Championship. So post-match, we had Jeff Jarrett and his posse. They were displeased at the result of Fenix winning and retaining the title. So pretty much that was basically that. Overall, decent match it was between Fenix and Jeff Jarrett, but I don't know why Jeff Jarrett got a opportunity for the International Championship. I'm like, what the hell did he do? He didn't do nothing to earn an opportunity for the International Championship. This was just an open challenge. And then we had MJF and Adam Cole. And this is another one of those bonding segments with them. So they were on a boat. Adam Cole ended up thanking MJF for bringing him out there. And MJF ended up pointing out that Cole was on the phone with Roderick Strong for a long time. And Adam Cole ended up pointing out that he loves MJF and Roderick Strong. MJF then ended up getting another beer, but he ended up putting on his Dynamite diamond ring. So Adam Cole then ended up questioning if MJF brought him out here to knock him out with the ring. So Adam Cole ended up saying that it's normal to have more than one friend. So MJF ended up joking that he almost got caught last time. He tried to throw someone overboard. So then their fishing rod starts moving. They think that they caught a fish, but it turned out to be Paul White in his Captain Insano character. That was his character from The Water Boy. So they ended up catching Paul White as Captain Insano. So then we saw just MJF, Adam Cole, and Paul White as Captain Insano relaxing with the beer. And that was how the segment ended. But hilarious segment this was. Just really loved it. And they're doing a good job of these MJF and Adam Cole bond segments. But yeah, hilarious segment it was. And then we saw footage from earlier in the week. This was on Saturday, where we saw Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita. They were in Tokyo, and Don Callis ended up saying that him and Takeshita are seemingly threatened to take out Kota Ibushi before Wrestle Dream, and a promise that we'll hear from the family later on. So that was basically that. Don Callis, Konosuke Takeshita were in Tokyo. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we saw Renee Paquette. She was in the ring. She kept introducing Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita. So Takeshita and Callis made their way to the ring. Of course, boos from the crowd. So we had Renee Paquette end up asking if Sammy Guevara has joined the Don Callis family. Callis ended up saying that he is happy that Guevara is free of the toxic of Chris Jericho. So he ended up bringing out Sammy Guevara as the newest member of the Don Callis family. Which, of course, last week at Grand Slam, we had Guevara turn on Jericho. So that size, Guevara's heel turn, which I called. I knew it was going to happen. So Don Callis ended up showing footage of him and Takeshita in Tokyo. They ended up headed to Kota Ibushi's gym. And we had Takeshita end up knocking Ibushi out with a kettlebell. And then Takeshita started choking Ibushi out. So we saw the footage of that. So Callis ended up saying that the family has never been stronger than headed to Wrestle Dream. Guevara then ended up saying that he is being painted out to be a bad guy, but in reality, he is the hero. Guevara ended up claiming that Jericho is the villain, as for 4 years, he held him back. He kept saying whenever he was flying high, Jericho would clip his wings. Guevara ended up saying that he thought one day Jericho would pass him the torch. But Jericho is selfish, so he had to take the torch, and now it is time to be the champion and the star he was born to be. So Don Callis ended up saying that at Wrestle Dream, they'll take everything from Jericho, Ibushi, and Omega until there is nothing left but the tears. So that was, basically that. So, but good promo from the Don Callis family. Guevara going out there, saying that, Jericho has been holding him back for 4 years. And whenever he was flying high with Jericho, would clip his wings. So, but good segment it was. And then we saw a clip from Collision, from AEW Collision. Ricky Starks ended up saying that he survived the match against Bryan Danielson. Wheeler Yuta then appeared. Yuta ended up saying that Starks couldn't get up, yet he gets up every day when they beat his ass. Yuta ended up saying that he doesn't think Starks has the balls to do that. If he disagrees, they can find out at Wrestle Dream. So that was revealed that the match has been made official for Wrestle Dream on Sunday. So Starks versus Yuta should be a good match there. Looking forward to it. And then we had a 3-way match. The winner gets to face Rey Fenix for the International Championship. So it was Nick Jackson versus Brian Cage versus Claudio Castagnoli. This was a good match here. So, match started off with Brian Cage, ended up dumping Nick Jackson out to the floor. Brian Cage and Claudio then locked up inside the ring. Nick Jackson ended up coming back into the ring. He ended up sending Claudio and Brian Cage to the outside. Nick Jackson then ended up leaping from the top rope, ended up taking the both of them out. Nick Jackson caught Brian Cage with a couple of boots, and then he headed to the top turnbuckle, but Claudio ended up pushing Nick Jackson into Brian Cage's arms, and then Brian Cage ended up slamming Nick Jackson down to the canvas. So Claudio was looking to go for a gut wrench, but Brian Cage ended up nailing Claudio with a lariat. So we had Claudio end up going for an uppercut, but he ended up missing the uppercut, and Brian Cage ended up connected with an uppercut of his own. And then Nick Jackson ended up charging in with a knee to Brian Cage's face. And then Nick Jackson ended up hitting a bulldog to Brian Cage. Nick Jackson ended up planting Brian Cage face first. He ended up launching Claudio across the floor outside the ring. So Nick Jackson ended up heading back to the ring. He ended up hitting the 450 to Brian Cage. So Nick Jackson ended up going for the cover, and we had Brian Cage end up kicking out. We had Claudio end up delivering the big swing on Brian Cage. So Claudio ended up going for the cover. Nick Jackson broke up the pin. Nick ended up sending Claudio out of the ring, and Nick ended up climbing up the top rope to deliver a crossbody on Brian Cage. Cage ended up catching Nick Jackson in midair and slammed him down to the canvas. So Brian Cage ended up going for the cover. Nick Jackson ended up kicking out. Claudio ended up going after Brian Cage from the apron, but he was sent into the ring with a vertical suplex. So Brian Cage ended up going for the cover, and Claudio ended up kicking out. Claudio then ended up rolling Brian Cage up after Nick Jackson delivered a super kick to Brian Cage, but Nick Jackson ended up catching Claudio for a near fall of his own. So Claudio then ended up sending Brian Cage up, and he ended up hitting the Ricola bomb, but Nick Jackson ended up taking out Claudio with the Hurricanrana. So we had Nick Jackson end up going for the cover on Brian Cage. So there you go. Nick Jackson ended up winning the match, and now he will face Rey Fenix for the International Championship. So, should be a good match. Rey Fenix versus Nick Jackson, International Championship. Take my money. Looking forward to it. But overall, good 3-way match this was. And then we had the Righteous. This was Vincent and Dutch. So the Righteous end up saying that they are ready for MJF and Adam Cole at Wrestle Dream for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. They end up saying that it's easier to forgive enemies than to forgive fake friends. So that's what the Righteous had to say. You know, the Righteous, in my opinion, they are AEW's kind of Wyatt family. Like, they got that music that little bit resembles the Wyatt family to me. And you have people in the crowd just snapping their fingers to the Righteous music. Like last week when I was at Grand Slam, you know, the Righteous came out. They were just, you know, the crowd's just snapping their fingers to their music. But that's just me. I see the Righteous as AEW's Wyatt family, kind of. You know, if they add more guys for the Righteous, then it would be a staple. You know, they will be kind of AEW's version of the Wyatt family if that ever happened. And then we had MJF and Adam Cole. They ended up making their way to the ring, got a big pop from the crowd. Adam Cole was on crutches after what went down last week at Grand Slam, where he ended up running out to help MJF, and he ended up going off the ramp, like, not right. So that kind of, like, injured himself. But MJF ended up heading down to the ring quickly. MJF ended up getting a chair for Adam Cole, so Adam Cole could, you know, sit down in the chair. So MJF got on the mic. He ended up saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the devil has arrived in Colorado." And before I go into this, I just want to say, what was up with all the technical issues tonight? Like, the audio sounded like a robot was messing with the audio. I'm like, what was going on? Did you all spot the technical issues tonight? You know, I know I did. Because I'm like, what the fuck is going on with the audio and, you know, the issues that were going on tonight? So MJF ended up telling Adam Cole to talk to the crowd. So Adam Cole ended up talking about his ankle exploding, suffering torn ligaments, and him having to possibly get surgery. So Adam Cole expressed his disappointment. He had promised him to come back as soon as humanly possible. So MJF ended up cutting Adam Cole off because Adam Cole was probably going to say, "Oh, me and MJF are going to relinquish the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship." So MJF ended up cutting him off there. MJF refused to relinquish the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships to the Righteous after having to wrestle twice in one night to win the titles in the first place. So MJF ended up offering a proposal to Adam Cole, who is also his partner and best friend. I think you all know that. He ended up saying that he will defend the titles in a handicap match, and he is going to win because they are better than you, okay? And then he got cut off by Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong going, "Adam!" You know, Roderick Strong going like that. It's just funny. So Roderick Strong ended up coming out with Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, the Kingdom. Of course, Roderick Strong still in his neck brace, you know, going, "Adam!" So Roderick Strong ended up saying that he needs Adam Cole more than ever in this time of emergency. MJF ended up telling Adam Cole to go to his boy Strong and that the titles will be here for him when he gets back. So Adam Cole reluctantly got out of the ring. He ended up going with the Kingdom and Roderick Strong, and he ended up heading to the back. MJF started to speak again, but he was cut off by Bullet Club Gold. So Bullet Club Gold ended up coming out. Jay White headed down the ramp with a mic in hand, and Jay ended up cutting MJF off from speaking. He ended up saying that everyone has heard enough from MJF and would like to hear from him for a change. Jay White ended up offering MJF a chance to revel in his moment, something that MJF doesn't take kindly to as he runs the Switchblade down. So MJF ended up saying that he's been compared to a lot of people in his career, and as his star rose, the goalposts kept moving, and it never bothered him, until he read that he is good, but he's no Jay White. So MJF ended up comparing himself to a filet mignon, and that a plate is centered around the filet, much like this show is centered around the world champion. And then he was like, and then there's Jay. He kept saying that Jay is very talented, but he's confused fans that he's also a filet mignon, when in fact, he's tofu. To which the crowd started chanting tofu to Jay White. So MJF was like, funny thing about tofu, it takes on the flavor of whatever you add to it, but you have to add to it. And Jay White has been given everything to surround himself with. He kept saying, the cool look, the cool shirt, hand the keys to the greatest faction in wrestling. But if he plucks it all away, he's left with plain, boring tofu. MJF ended up calling Jay White out for jumping on his plate, saying that the Switchblade is all hype, before giving him advice. So MJF gave Jay White advice. He kept saying that if he were Jay, he'd leave this ring and stop talking smack to his pores. He ended up saying that if he doesn't, the reports will forever say, sure, Jay White is good, but he's no MJF. So then Jay White ended up mocking all this. He kept saying that he came out here for his own personal MJF experience. But he kept saying that he's a little bit let down. So Jay was interrupted by a chant of tofu from the crowd. He kept saying something is off about MJF these days. He kept saying it's either the injury or his new bromance with Adam Cole. So Jay White ended up saying that MJF wished the people would love him as much as they love Cole. So the crowd started chanting MJF. It led to Jay White running the crowd down. Jay White ended up saying that this situation is partly his fault. That if he hadn't taken Cole out with injury back at the first Forbidden Door, none of whatever happened would have ever occurred. He kept saying, except that Adam Cole getting injured last week is all MJF's fault. So Jay White ended up saying that he's been running MJF's life from afar for a while now, but the time is right for him to ruin his life up close. So Jay White started, running down MJF. He kept hyping himself up. Jay White ended up calling himself the catalyst of professional wrestling, and that he will be a truly elite champion when he peels the world championship from MJF's corpse. So MJF ended up saying that he will have the fans, and the fans will have him. And Jay White will have the AEW World Championship, because MJF has gone soft. So that pissed off MJF. MJF started taking his shirt off. He ended up going after Jay White. So Jay White ended up wisely escaping the ring, and pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a very good segment from Jay White and MJF. And, of course, Adam Cole being in this and, going off with one of his buddies, Roderick Strong. But I think this MJF injury with him, I think this is all a work by Adam Cole because, of course, they were going to relinquish the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship, but MJF was like, no, we're not relinquishing the titles because, if Adam Cole were to get surgery and be off, they would have relinquished the titles. But that did not take place. So I think this injury by Adam Cole is all just a work, in my opinion. And then we had Jim Ross, good old JR. He ended up interviewing Darby Allin and Christian Cage, who is the new TNT champion because he won the title on Collision on Saturday night. So Christian ended up claiming that Darby's previous wins were flukes, and that Darby is nowhere near the man that he is, that Christian is. So Christian ended up saying that Darby has been relying on silliness, like a skateboard. He ended up saying this 2 out of 3 falls match will force Darby to actually wrestle. So Christian started to run down Darby's dead uncle, and that riddled Darby up. Darby ended up refusing to bring Nick Wayne into this match. He ended up telling Christian that Christian should keep Luchasaurus away as well, if he got what it takes. So this delved into a shout-off between Darby and Christian Cage where they would just shout at each other. You had, Christian end up saying to Darby, "Oh, do you hide your face behind that face paint?" So Darby was like, "Oh, I don't hide my face behind this face paint." He started putting water on his face, wiping off some of the face paint on him. So pretty much that was that. But it was a good interview that Jim Ross did with Darby Allin and Christian Cage here, for their match on Sunday at Wrestle Dream, which is going to be a good match. Looking forward to this 2 out of 3 falls match between Christian and Darby Allin. And then we had a 4-way match. Orange Cassidy versus Matt Jackson versus Penta El Zero Miedo versus Austin Gunn. And this was a decent 4-way here. So at the beginning of the match, we had all 4 guys run each other, and Penta and Austin Gunn were in the ring. Austin started taunting Penta, and we had both Austin and Penta were trading taunts at each other. Austin Gunn ended up getting sent out of the ring by Penta. Matt Jackson came in, and Matt Jackson was sent out by Penta. Orange Cassidy ended up coming in, and Penta delivered a kick to Orange Cassidy. Austin then blindsided Penta. He ended up sending Penta out. Orange Cassidy came back into the ring, and Austin Gunn ended up going for a pin on Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy ended up kicking out. So then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Matt Jackson was in control of the match, and Matt Jackson ended up taking down Austin Gunn, and he ended up flying off the turnbuckle onto Penta. Orange Cassidy and Austin Gunn ended up fighting on the turnbuckle. Orange Cassidy ended up rushing Penta, and Matt Jackson would dive to the outside. Orange Cassidy ended up coming back to the ring. Austin Gunn ended up taking Orange Cassidy down with the pin. So Orange Cassidy ended up kicking out. So we had Penta end up taking Orange Cassidy down. We had Austin Gunn end up going for a near fall. And we had Orange Cassidy end up delivering a destroyer to Austin Gunn. So Penta later on got back on his feet. He kept rushing toward Matt Jackson, but he was taken to the corner as Matt and Orange Cassidy end up going at it. So Matt Jackson ended up going for the locomotion suplex, but Orange Cassidy ended up fighting out of it. So Matt Jackson ended up taking all three guys down with a O'Connor roll and a Northern Light suplex. So we had Matt Jackson was looking to go for the BT trigger on Penta, but Penta blocked it. Matt Jackson ended up fighting out of a fear factor as Austin Gunn ended up intervening. So Orange Cassidy ended up catching Penta with an orange punch. Cassidy was going for a beach break, but we had Austin Gunn end up sneaking in a near fall on Orange Cassidy. Austin Gunn ended up trying to go for Matt Jackson and then Penta for a cover, but both Matt and Penta end up kicking out. So we had Orange Cassidy up nailing Matt Jackson with an orange punch, and he ended up going for the cover. Austin Gunn was trying to break up the pin, but he couldn't. So Orange Cassidy ended up winning the match. Overall, decent match. It was decent 4-way match. And then we had Julia Hart versus Will Nightingale. This was an okay match here. I gotta say, Julia Hart has the best theme and entrance in AEW. Just love, the entrance and the theme. It fits Julia, really well. So, match started off with Nightingale end up going after Julia Hart, and we had Julia end up turning things around, and she was sent down hard by Will Nightingale. Nightingale ended up delivering a suplex to Julia Hart. We had Julia Hart end up escaping the ring. She ended up hiding underneath the ring as Brody King ended up distracting Will Nightingale. Julia Hart ended up crawling out the other side of the ring. She then ended up attacking Willow from behind several times. She ended up driving Willow into the second rope. So Julia Hart ended up driving her fingers into Nightingale's eyes, raking the eyes. Julia Hart ended up chopping Nightingale as she connected with a kick to Nightingale's back. But Nightingale ended up turning things around, slamming Julia Hart down to the canvas. She had followed with a short arm lariat. Nightingale ended up still going after Julia Hart. So Julia Hart ended up locking in Heartless, but Nightingale was able to grab the ropes. Nightingale fired back with a pounce which sent Julia Hart across the ring. And we had Nightingale end up charging into the corner to Julia Hart. So Nightingale ended up marking Brody King's bark, and Julia Hart ended up avoiding the stampede. She ended up pulling herself up, and then she delivered a nice, awesome moonsault onto Will Nightingale. So there you go. Julia Hart ended up winning the match. Overall, okay women's match it was. Julia Hart and Will Nightingale, did fine in the match. And then we had the main event segment, which was the contract signing between Swerve Strickland and Hangman and Page for their match at Wrestle Dream on Sunday. So Renee Paquette was in the ring. She was joined by Swerve and Prince Nana. So Hangman and Page end up making his way down. And on commentary, they were informed that the Mogul Embassy and the Elite have been banned from ringside. So Swerve got on the mic. He kept saying that he didn't think Page had it in him, the fire that he's been showing lately. But it's a little late for that. He kept saying Seattle is whose house? To which the crowd ended up saying Swerve's house. He kept saying it's a lion's den Page is heading into. Swerve then ended up running down Hangman and Page, and he he responded by saying Swerve should be fired up. Page ended up saying that things Swerve said stung at first, but now he thanks him for saying those things because for a year and a half, every day he came to work and he could see a little black cloud hanging over him, and he couldn't figure out what it was. So Page ended up talking about the win over Moxley and reuniting with the Elite. He kept saying about every time he started to smile, that cloud would come back and it would start to rain again. He kept saying he tried to keep an umbrella by his side, but he weathered the storm, and he is still. He kept saying those comments washed something out of him. Page ended up saying now that he's had time to reckon with that, he's come to realize that these people deserve the best from him, and he deserves it for himself. He kept saying, so that's what Swerve will get at WrestleDream, the best of him. So Page then signed the contract. Swerve was just laughing. He was saying, that was beautiful, but also pathetic. He kept saying, almost as pathetic as Denver. Swerve ended up saying that he makes enemies for himself so he can better him. And he's going to take everything from Page this Sunday. He kept saying, and by the way, it rains a lot in Seattle. So Page ended up responding saying that they could go back and forth about whether he was handed or earned his opportunities. But it cannot be denied that every opportunity he had, he knocked it out of the park. He kept saying that Swerve should want this spot, but he does not have what it takes to fill his boots. So Swerve ended up slapping Page. So Swerve ended up signing the contract. Page ended up retaliated by stabbing Swerve's hand with the pen. Security then rushed to the ring to stop any further conflict from these two. So pretty much that was basically how this segment ended for the contract sign-in. And then it cut backstage, and we saw these group of men, and they were dressed in black, and they were beating down on Jay White. So this masked man in a devil mask, it was the previous MJF devil mask, he was shown grabbing the camera, and then Dynamite went off the air. But this has me kind of interested here with these masked men. Like when I saw this, I'm like, okay, this is reminding me so much of Retribution, that failed WWE stable that we saw during the pandemic. It just reminded me of that, but hopefully this will be interesting, and we'll like to see where this will go. So it has me interested. But anyways, that was Dynamite tonight. Overall, good show was. Obviously, not as good as Grand Slam was last week, but still, a good show tonight. But anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Dynamite. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and sorry if I sound, very nasally. At least I got through the review. Want to get a review out for you guys, as always. But definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until next video, I'll see you all later.